The name MetalCenter has been a big part of racing in 1989 at Louisville Motor Speedway, and this coming Saturday night, it becomes a part of the biggest late model race of the year, the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300. We'll be setting the scene for that event and looking back at the season championships in 3 divisions right here on Channel 21. Hi again, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas. Frank Scott, big weekend, and before we start talking about the Bluegrass 300, let's begin with a quick look back, and we're going to see some great highlights from championships in 3 divisions.
Of course, as you well know, we were rained out last Friday evening. That event has been rescheduled, but quickly getting to Saturday night, a lot of championships were on the line over this past weekend here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Of course, the Gatorade Oval Bombers, that's the big one in question, and the one that we're going to take a look at the highlights of tonight. Scott Toohey leading the point standings, only a rookie in this division, and James Chumley, who has had 2 or 3 years of experience. However, both drivers are looking for their first championship race. We'll find out how it was won tonight. Along with that, the Winston Bush late models. Chuck Winders clinched the championship about a week ago, has enough points coming into tonight's action to clinch his first ever championship in stock car racing. However, the big question is who's going to finish 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place there in the point standings, and you'll see the highlights and results of that as well.
George Koch, Gary Holloway, Gary Martin throwing a blanket over him coming in. That feature's going to be worth the price of admission alone.
The cliffhanger of all divisions. You know, Scotty, we've been watching stock car racing for 20 years around Kentuckiana, and never on the final point night have we had 3 drivers actually in contention for the point championship. And as you well mentioned, George Koch leading the points going into tonight is only about 14 points ahead of Gary Holloway, and only, I believe, just a few more than that ahead of Gary Martin. So any of those 3 drivers could win their first ever championship as well. And you're getting ready to see the highlights of how that championship was won.
Frank will be setting you up for each race, but basically it's double points, and so it's going to be wild. George Koch just needs to finish 3rd or better. You'll find out if he does or if he's able to win that championship. Toohey, of course, needs to finish 11th or better, but stranger things have happened. It's going to be a wild night. Look forward to the highlights. And Frank will also talk with several late model drivers about what's going to be the biggest night of the year. That's the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300 on Saturday.
Just as we documented on this opening shot here, the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300, no longer Monza style, but a straight 300-lap non-stop race. It will involve pit stops. It's inevitable. They can't go that far on that much on the gasoline inside the race cars. So that'll be a big strategy as well on a 300-lap race. And I tell you what, I've seen a lot of stock car racing around Kentuckiana. Again, the Asphalt Championship, the International 500, this and that. But I tell you what, this Bluegrass 300 race fans, if you've never visited Louisville Motor Speedway, now is the time, believe me.
The WAMZ presentation of the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300 is Saturday. You figure 8 fans, remember, it's the final figure 8 race of the year tomorrow night. It'll be season championships brought to you by Ken Towery Auto Care Centers. Also, fan appreciation. We've been trying to give these prizes away for a couple of weeks. We're going to get to do all that tomorrow night, and it's the final figure 8 run of the year, 40 laps in the main feature.
Well, as they've always said, sooner or later you'll be on Generals, and of course Ken Towery sells the Generals, the Michelins, along with the Dean tires and the fabulous Firestone. So be out here tomorrow night, fan appreciation night and season championship night for the Strohs figure 8, Martin Landscaping, and the Rookie Bombers.
It's going to be a big, big weekend. Come on out. We're going to wrap it up in style here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Last week we crowned 3 new champions in style. Those highlights are coming up here on Channel 21.
Kentuckiana's finest drivers, the area's most magnificent machines, in the supreme test of the year. It's coming this Saturday night to Louisville Motor Speedway as WBMC presents the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300. Get ready for 300 laps of non-stop excitement, matching athletes from the Winston Bush Late Model Division in the season-ending grand finale. With $17,000 in purse and contingency money on the line, it's sure to be one of the greatest events in Kentuckiana motorsports history. And it's this Saturday night at Louisville Motor Speedway.
And the first division to see action last Saturday evening at Louisville Motor Speedway was the Winston Bush Late Models, a 40-lap season championship race about to get underway. And before we see that action, our own Scott Douglas had a word with some of the leading drivers on their thoughts towards this Saturday night's Bluegrass 300.
Chuck, Bluegrass 300 coming up, and I guess from a strategy point of view, how do you look at that race?
Well, I've talked to A. Arnold, Dave Comer, a lot of the guys that have run the old Bluegrass 300s and that sort of thing, and it seemed like the key to it is patience. We want to go out there and run, but we don't want to get lapped, but we don't want to be the, what you might call a rabbit. We don't want to get out there and run away from everybody. So we're just going to try to be patient and be easy on our equipment and hope we've got something left at the end.
You're going to be listed as one of the favorites. When you go in, who do you got to beat?
There's 10 or 12 cars I believe you'll have to beat. You've got Meadors, Gardeners. They've run the distances before. So maybe we can go to school off of those guys.
Joe, tell me about basically strategy, how you envision running the Bluegrass 300.
Well, I'll tell you, most of these guys ain't run but 100 lappers like at Owensboro and up here. And usually everybody's so exhausted after 100, I don't know exactly what we're going to do. Everybody have to have headrest, everybody have to have water, and then you're actually going to have to try to soften up your first 100 or 150 laps and not race anybody hard. If you start racing anybody hard, there's no way that we'll be able to hold up. We're just not tuned in for it or got our bodies in shape for it, to tell you the truth.
What about pit stops, Joe? It's obviously going to be critical because it's something you're not used to doing.
The pit stops, I believe, since it's something that none of us have ever done, we'll all be on the same keel, really. I mean, none of us got the real good gas setups and things to change the tires with and everything. We'll all be pretty even on that deal.
Scott, and I know this is something obviously Billy's had to have talked to you about, and I know in the weeks leading up to it, you're going to discuss it a lot. But what do you think in the strategy? What's the most important part to running a 300-lap race, continuous laps?
I believe the best thing to do is qualify fast, where you start up front and then try to survive all the wrecks and then pace yourself. You don't want to get out and burn your tires up and use all your gas at the start of the race. You kind of just want to lay back and just take advantage of all the pit stops that you can.
Is this an equalizer type of race to a guy who may not be as fast as you or Chuck or these other guys, if he can be consistent and hang in there, does he have a better chance this time?
Most definitely. All you got to do is survive on these big races. Watching the big guys like Darrell Waltrip, he just lays back to the end and move on. Just survive.
Preston, first of all, strategy-wise, and you've run long races before, as opposed to a weekly feature, what do you have to do mentally and with your car physically to run this 300-lapper?
Well, mentally, you have to watch yourself during the race where your mind doesn't wander as much. You know, you'll go out there and maybe run 100, 150 laps and 175, and if you don't watch yourself, your mind will wander and you'll be thinking about something else. So that's one thing mentally that you have to think about and keep your mind on what you're doing. You have to prepare yourself mentally before the race because this is a longer race than normally we run, so that's another aspect of it. Physically, I've got my own ideas on how to be physically as far as what you have to do and how to pace yourself for the race. I've had an opportunity to run some longer races, you know, and learned a lot during those times. So basically, it's everybody here, as far as the cars and equipment and knowledge, will pretty much be equal, I think. I think it'll be an idea that I don't think anyone's going to have an advantage coming into the race.
Coming into it, though, when you look at it and you look at the way that some of the stronger guys have run, can you come in, first of all, as an advantage to you having run these kind of races before? And another, to follow that up, is this the kind of race where you don't need all that speed up front to where it could work into your favor?
Well, having a game plan before you go on the race is the ideal thing. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to make 2 pit stops, maybe one at 100 and one at 200, where you don't catch that, maybe a green flag where you have to pit on a green during the middle of the race, or are you going to go ahead and take a chance on that yellow flag coming to the middle of the race? So you're probably going to see some different ideas being thrown in. I know everybody will at least make 2 stops, and I think everybody's going to go with 1. But as far as an advantage running them, I think everybody's pretty much equal. Everybody's quick here and knows what it's going to take, you know, to run 300 laps.
All right, Frank, basically, strategy-wise, how do you look at running the Bluegrass 300?
I think you need to qualify pretty well, start up in front of the pack, and just be really careful and plan your passes and take your time, mainly.
And I know you all feel like that your crew is as good as anybody's. Is that going to be a factor in this race?
Well, I think with the new Hoosier tires we have now, that I don't think anyone will need to change tires as far as wearing them out. But if there is a chance that we have to change tire stuff, yeah, I believe my crew is an advantage because they've been through this kind of thing. They know how to make pit stops, so hopefully we won't have any silly mistakes.
Bill, MetalCenter Bluegrass 300. What kind of strategy? What are your thoughts heading into the race?
Well, Scott, we've given it a lot of thoughts, and we're not exactly sure what we're going to do, but what I'd like to do is have fast time start on the pole, lead lap 100, 200, and 300, but, you know, if we can't do that, hopefully I can come as close as I possibly can to it. As far as the car, the longevity of the car, I hope that I don't go and use my brakes all up right at first, because I think the brakes are what's really going to be the problem. I don't think we're going to have a problem with the tires or fuel stops or anything like that, but I am a little bit concerned about the brakes, as we do use a lot of brakes here.
Pit stops. It's a concern to a lot of people because they haven't been done, but everybody's kind of even, aren't they?
Yeah, I think, you know, maybe a few people might have an advantage over some of the other teams. You know, they might get together and practice or something like that, or they might have a little better filling system on their fuel tanks than other guys have, and maybe some of them might have quick dump tanks, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, everybody is probably going to be, for the most part of the guys out here, they're going to be pretty close to the same.
Larry Meadors, coming into, and you've run races, extra lap races before, long races before. What's the key strategy running the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300?
Well, we were talking about it. We think we'll probably have to run the car pretty hard the whole way. You know, you can say lay back and all that, but we'll probably run hard the whole race if we're able to.
All right, talking about going hard the all way, there are a lot of guys who think they're going to maybe do a little Darrell Waltrip, you know, kind of lay back a little bit early. Is this the kind of race where a guy could get a lap down and come back?
Oh, I would think so, but I wouldn't want to get down and try to make it back up. You know, if the guy that's leading by, say, a lap or 200 laps into the race, if he doesn't have any trouble, it's going to be hard to catch him.
What about as far as the car itself? What's the most critical part to keep going for 300 laps?
Well, we make sure we drill all the stuff that may come loose. You know, bolts, different bolts, we'll drill and tie wire them. But other than that, you know, we pack all the bearings and everything like that. Just check the car over. If your engine holds up, usually, you know, you're in pretty good shape.
Kentuckiana's finest drivers, the area's most magnificent machines, in the supreme test of the year. It's coming this Saturday night to Louisville Motor Speedway as WBNA presents the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300. Get ready for 300 laps of non-stop excitement, matching athletes from the Winston Bush Late Model Division in the season-ending grand finale. With $17,000 in purse and contingency money on the line, it's sure to be one of the greatest events in Kentuckiana motorsports history. And it's this Saturday night at Louisville Motor Speedway.
Back to more highlights and results from last Saturday night at Louisville Motor Speedway. The 40-lap Winston Bush Late Model Championship race into turns 1 and 2. Iroquois Park, Kentucky's Scott Walters, the leader in the Roadrunner Video Club's IROC Z28 Camaro on Roadrunner Video Club's night. At second, it's Larry Meadors in car number 05, the Delahaney Screen Printing and Graphics Pontiac. And then this problem coming out of turn number 4, it was Joe Williamson Sr. in the number 11 and the number 77 of Buddy Fannin. But they avoided the caution flag period as Scott Walters maintains the running out front in car number 5 into turns 1 and 2 with Larry Meadors at second. It's Chuck Winters there in the car number 8, the Comfort Conversions sponsored IROC Camaro. Marty Belcher in car number 3 going 4th on the field, and Frank Kimmel rounds out the top 5 in the early going. Watching some of the racing inside the top 5 moving into turns 1 and 2, and you see the number 98 of Keith Gardner racing along the inside of Frank Kimmel, and then this happened in turns 1 and 2. A blown engine by car number 39. Ron Phillips put his Jiffy Lube sponsored Pontiac Trans Am into the outside retaining wall, and the number 74 of Brian Baum involved. Inside the top 10 laps, and the caution flag comes out. As the field gets lined back up again for the restart, it's Scott Walters in car number 5 taking the lead once again. The number 05 of Larry Meadors dropping back to second. He accepts the challenge along the inside by car number 8, Chuck Winters. Back at 4th, it's the number 98 of Keith Gardner. And rounding out the top 5 at this portion in the event, the number 3 of Marty Belcher as they move into turns 1 and 2. Unfortunately, the problems for Marty Belcher began over in turn number 2 after he and Bill Webb made a little contact. The Brooks, Kentucky driver slides down to the infield, but eventually gets back into the lineup. Later on in the contest, the problems started getting a little bit worse for Marty Belcher when he blows the engine in his Dave Calmer-owned IROC Camaro, sending the number 28 of Frank Kimmel and the number 88 of Jerry Norris down to the infield and laying down about 8 quarts of oil. It brings out the yellow flag, and the race had to be restarted once again. As the race was restarted again, it's car number 5, Scott Walters, still the leader, and you see the number 8 of Chuck Winters on the outside falling back just a little bit, and then into turns 1 and 2. The number 98 of Keith Gardner comes up to challenge along the inside for second place, with Bill Webb driving car number 1 at 4th, then Larry Meadors. Following them out of turn number 4 comes the car number 69 of Bill Kimmel Jr. The caution flag came out once again when Junior Blankenship of Wilder Park, Kentucky stalled his B&R Speed Shop Pontiac Trans Am just into the entrance of turn number 1, and the race had to be restarted again. Well, it was great to see the green flag back out again, and Scott Walters as well as Chuck Winders racing into turns 1 and 2 with the Auburndale Auto Parts and Machine Racing engines under the hood. But unfortunately, not everyone got started. Prospect, Kentucky's Henry Wallace and Shively, Kentucky's Joe Williamson Sr. hit the outside retaining wall up in turn number 4 just as they got that green flag, and the race had to be restarted for yet another time. Well, once again, the cars were lined back up again. Watch inside row number 2. That's 98 Keith Gardner and Bill Webb. They make a little contact. And then Larry Meadors in the number 95, Fred Williams, Buddy Fannin, Richard Herman in car number 17 tearing up the Ford Thunderbird Super Coupe. And Buddy Fannin along the inside of turn number 4. Well, you can't get a restart this way. And the wreckers went to work as well as the mechanics, and they lined the field back up again for yet another restart. Once again, the field is lined back up with Scott Walters, who has been the leader of this contest, that night's fastest qualifier, and Chuck Winders, car number 8, the late model division champion of 1989. But coming out of turn number 2, it's Winders who gets excellent traction coming down the back straightaway and inherits the lead with Walters back at second. It'll be Keith Gardner at third. Bill Webb accepts the challenge along the inside from his fellow Hoosier race driver, the number 69 of Bill Kimmel Jr., as they make a little contact into turns 1 and 2, but Webb pulls right back around the number 69 moving into turns 3 and 4. That's pretty much the way the position stayed in the latter portions of the event. Check out the fourth place running automobile, the number 1 of Bill Webb. Did not start that race where he wanted to, did not turn in a great qualifying effort, but through sheer determination brought the number 1, the IROC Z28, up to the 4th place position in the field. Now challenges Keith Gardner along the outside. Final lap of the contest, and Chuck Winders is out front looking for his 6th feature win of the 1989 racing season for Custom Conversions, as well as Sonny's Body Shop, McDonald's Restaurants of Greater Louisville, and Craig and Landreth Cars, and he is the 1989 late model champion at Louisville Motor Speedway. Scott Walters finishes up at 2nd in this event and 2nd in the point standings, and because Frank Kimmel dropped out early in the event, it was Keith Gardner finishing up at 3rd in the point standings for 1989. Next up, the Gatorade Mini Stock Division. With only 14 points separating the top 3 drivers, this was really the cliffhanger of all racing divisions so far as point action goes. The 4th place running automobiles, Lanny Smith, just out of the picture. He will be the Rookie of the Year in the Gatorade Mini Stocks. But as they move into turns 3 and 4 on the first lap, it's Gary Holloway accepting a challenge along the inside by the number 44 of Gary Martin. It's Holloway at 2nd in the point standings, but now 3rd in the lineup. Martin up to 2nd place. Current point leader George Koch is the leader as they move down the backstretch. A little later in the contest, some of the best racing effort put out by Sonny Cox, the driver of the number 84, as he shoots in between the number 3 of Mike Glanz and the number 18 of Mike Freeman. Cox turns his Mustang out of turn number 4 and picks up 2 positions on 1 lap of the contest. A little bit later, the number 84 of Sonny Cox got around leading rookie contender, the number 46 of Lanny Smith, and then tries the outside of Gary Holloway as they move down the back straightaway. Mike lands in that race as well in car number 3. Eventually, the leader of the race, the 99 of George Koch, was able to open up this kind of interval between the 2nd place running car number 44, Gary Martin. Gary Holloway, who started this race 2nd in the point standings and still with a chance to win the championship, saw it all go up in smoke as he came out of turn number 4 and spun his Holloway Ready Mix and Aggregates Pinto. But he gets it back into gear and tries to remain on the lead lap, keeping his championship hopes alive, but then again developed problems over in turn number 2 and goes down 1 lap to the leaders. But all the bad luck didn't belong to Holloway. Moving into turns 1 and 2, it's Gary Martin, the leader, in the number 44, but then connects bumpers with the number 88 of Joe Davenport and loses the lead to the number 99 of George Koch. Martin's automobile, sponsored by M&J Machine Shop as well as Jenny Quip, comes almost to a dead stop at the end of the back straightaway. Holloway gets his lap back from Martin, then Martin rejoins the lineup. Simultaneously, the 99 of George Koch, the new leader of the contest, spins up in the 4th turn area, but then joins the lineup. So the taxation between Martin and Koch evens the score out, and they go back green flag racing. There's Holloway. He gets back on the lead lap, but well out of the top 5 in the standings.
Later in the contest, with car number 44, Gary Martin, the leader, goes around the outside of the number 50 of Gary Holloway and puts him back one lap behind the leaders. The 99 of George Koch runs at second place at this position in the racetrack. Final lap of the contest, and Camp Taylor's Gary Martin out front trying to hold off a hard-charging 99 George Koch, but as they come down for the checkered flag, give the win to Gary Martin. Gary finishes up second in the point standings. It was George Koch who came in second in that event, but clinched the 1989 Gatorade Mini Stock Championship. Finishing up third in the standings, the number 50 of Gary Holloway for 1989. Collecting the win in the B feature for the Gatorade Mini Stocks. The win goes out to Doug Meredith for Chardon Mechanical, and his teammate Rick Harris finishing up at second. Taking a look now at action from the Gatorade Oval Bombers. In the point standings, it's Scott Toohey, car number 38. Needs to just finish in the top 11. James Chumley needs to win this event and hopes Toohey finishes out of the top 12. Moving into turns 1 and 2 just after taking the green flag, and down the back straightaway, it's James Chumley challenging Toohey for the lead. Into turns 3 and 4, and it's James Chumley out of turn number 4 in his Robert Hobart Trucking Company Ford going out front, just what he needed to do, but could he stay there? Into turns 1 and 2, Scott Toohey at second. Up to third comes Spike Gathoff. Good battle back at fourth. The 71 of Steve Wilbert as they move down the back straightaway. But then the 42 of James Chumley sees his hopes for the championship go up in smoke as he blows the engine in his Mercury Cougar, moving into turns 3 and 4 and pulls back towards the pit area. Eventually, Doug Stevens of Okolona, Kentucky grabbed the top spot away from Scott Toohey. Then moving into turns 1 and 2, the 01 of Jerry Barr, Don Hoke, and Bobby Wheatley spin, but it does not bring out the caution flag. Later portions of the contest, and Scott Toohey, driving car number 38, is able to get around the 119 of Doug Stevens and his Fowler Painting Contracting Racing Chevrolet and takes the lead for good and cruises to the victory in the 40-lap feature event. Toohey is sponsored by Auburndale Auto Parts and Machine as well as Gene's Auto Service and Taylor's House of Color. By virtue of a 7th place finish in this event, Spike Gathoff finishes second in the point standings, and by finishing 5th, it was Jerry Payne finishing up third in the point standings. Robbie Vitito comes back, gets the B feature for the Gatorade Oval Bombers, and Bill Wallace gets the C feature.
Time now to name the Oscar Mayer Top Dog of the Week for outstanding performance of the previous week. And this week, we're not just honoring an outstanding performance from the week, but really a guy who has been outstanding throughout the year and has not yet won the Top Dog Award. We're giving it to Bill Webb in the Budget Rent-A-Card Ford Thunderbird #1 as he came through with another strong run in the season championship race, ended up finishing in the top 5. Bill, with 5 feature wins on the year, has had an outstanding season and an outstanding week. And for both of those accomplishments, Bill Webb is our Oscar Mayer Top Dog of the Week. So we congratulate our new champions, but now we look forward to a big weekend. First of all, tomorrow night, Ken Towery Auto Care Centers help us crown another pair of champions in the Stroh's Figure 8 division. One more time for the Figure 8s. In the Martin Landscaping Sportsman division, we'll also see Rookie Bomber racing tomorrow night.
Well, Scott, as you look towards those point standings and you see Sam Price leading those points over Jim Bartley, we can't tell you where either driver has to finish in the feature event to clinch the championship naturally, because those cars qualify. So they'll earn championship points in 2 events tomorrow night here at Louisville Motor Speedway. So far as the Stroh's Figure 8 division, Danny Blackwell still hasn't quite locked it up, but Buck Skaggs is going to have a very good run tomorrow night here at Louisville Motor Speedway to win that championship.
All right, then also, as we mentioned, the rookies will run on Friday. Those winners tomorrow night are going to get another race, because Saturday, along with the 300, which we'll talk about in just a second, the Rookie Bomber Rookie of the Year race. Going to be neat. All the guys who have won a feature come back, qualify in the afternoon, and the top ones go 50 laps for the honor of Rookie Bomber Rookie of the Year.
It's a unique way to find the Rookie of the Year amongst the rookies. You know, Jerry's Automotive Finishes have developed a program that we crown a Rookie of the Year in each of our point-achieving divisions, but the Rookie of the Year for the Rookie Bomber drivers who do not accumulate points, this is their race. We'll take the top ones that have won a feature event here in 1989 and put them on the track and see how they do.
And of course, the MetalCenter Bluegrass 300. 300 continuous laps for the best drivers and best machines, the finest athletes in the area going at it. You can still go by MetalCenter tomorrow and get your advance tickets. It'll save you $2 on the adult, teen, or child's ticket. If you go by the MetalCenter, 7100 Great Lane, get those tickets tomorrow, save money, and be here for a great Saturday night. And you'll see the highlights next Thursday night. We'll have one more week here on Channel 21. Till then, I'm Scott Douglas.
And I'm Frank Scott, inviting you to tune in this coming Thursday evening at 9:30 for the fastest half hour in Kentucky as Louisville Motor Speedway presents Let's Go Racing. Good night.